Greetings and welcome to the Adrian Dominican Sisters edition of A Sister Story. I am Sister Pego Flynn, and I am going to be interviewing and having a conversation with our sister Rosemary Finnegan, who is presently residing in Winter Park, Florida. So, what's the weather like down there, Rosemary, today?
It's April and it's beautiful. Everything's in bloom and there's little humidity, but it's coming. But it's like 65 in the morning and 85 at the height of the day. So it's really lovely.
Well, ours is coming. And believe it or not, the weather report last night said we're having a few snowflakes today.
Oh.
But anyway, I didn't see them. So let's begin your story. Thank you for your willingness to participate in this. Let's start where you started, your beginnings. Where did you grow up and where are you originally from?
That's easy. I'm originally from Chicago. I am the oldest of 9 children. My mom and my dad were just wonderful, faithful Catholics. I had a brother who was born before I was born and who died when he was 2, almost 2, of a brain tumor. And my mom and dad always told us in all our years growing up to pray to Dennis, that he was our special saint in heaven.
Isn't that beautiful?
And he was the first grandchild on either side of the family. And so he's just always lived in our memory and in our lives. In fact, I was thinking about him the other day. I have his picture on my dresser, and we really do have a strong devotion to him. But as I said, I'm the oldest of 9. There are 7 girls and 2 boys.
Wow.
My mom is still alive, and she's really alive. She's 99 and just full of life. She's living independently at Bethlehem Woods in LaGrange, Illinois. And we hope next year that we're going to have a rousing celebration for her 100th birthday.
When's her birthday, Rosemary?
It is January 4th.
Okay.
So she and all my brothers and sisters kind of live around that area, and we've been very blessed with her health, and especially this year. But she's a wonderful lady. She's just a strong hold in my life. She's a strong, silent type, and yet she's full of wisdom and a lot of fun. We all laugh as kids now, saying, "Mom, we remember when we were growing up that the only word you never wanted to hear in the morning was where." Where are my shoes? Where are my books? Where?
Okay.
So that's the only word we could never say in the morning is where.
So all 9 of you kids were at home together at the same time?
Yes.
Okay.
I actually left for Adrian when my brother was just over a year old.
Okay.
There's quite an age gap between him and myself, although we're very close now. We're all close. In fact, during this year of COVID, every Sunday afternoon we Zoom together. And
wonderful.
My mother is the first one on. She's got her iPad and she's raring to go. So
that's wonderful.
Yeah, we're very fortunate. We lost my sister Maureen to cancer 3 years ago. So that's been still kind of raw. You know, when you lose a sibling,
is right.
Wow, it's just very difficult. But so we miss Maureen a lot. But she and Dennis are angels in heaven now, and we pray to them a lot. So my dad, wonderful, great Irish wit gentleman, very involved with the Adrian Dominican. The support group that we had in the 60s and 70s, the auxiliary, the Dominican auxiliary.
Right. I remember that.
Oh, my dad was just very involved in that, was president and loved all the sisters. So I've been very fortunate. I grew up in St. Rita's. We moved there when I was just a young one, and all my siblings, we went to school there, and that's where I got to know the Adrian Dominicans initially at St. Rita's in Chicago. So we're Southside Irish.
Okay.
I was blessed also to know my 4 grandparents. My paternal grandparents were right from Ireland, and just all 4 of them we were very blessed to have them in our lives. So
then where'd you go to high school?
Actually, I went to Visitation High School, which is run by the Dominican Sisters of Cincinnati. And because Aquinas was a bit far from us at that point, but a lot of my friends had gone to Visitation and really, really liked it. My brother was then going to go to De La Salle, which was the brother school. We called it Sister Brother Schools. It was an all-boys school. So all of my sisters and I went to Visitation and loved it. So when I was discerning the call to Dominican life, the first question my father said is, well, which Dominicans?
Yeah.
And it wasn't even a question in my mind. I just always felt I had that initial attraction to the Adrian Dominicans. So here I am.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And none of your sisters decided to follow in your footsteps.
No. None of them did, but they gave me all my nieces and nephews, for which I am eternally grateful.
Right. You must have a lot of them.
Yes, I do. I have 17 nieces and nephews and 25 great-grand nieces and nephews at this point. So we're very, very fortunate. We've got a big Finnegan clan. Yeah.
What are the names of your brothers and sisters? Sometimes that's what we hear it when the stories are given, and they say, well, they never mentioned my name.
Okay, here we go. My actual baptismal name is Kathleen.
Yes.
I took the name after my mom. So I'm Kathleen. And then 17 months after I was born, Mom and Dad had twins. So Mike and Maureen. And Maureen is my sister who died. So Mike then was the only boy, because the next children were Patty, Sharon, Terry. I have a sister, Rosemary, Colleen, and then Brian was born.
Okay.
So
Very
my
good.
brother Mike grew up in it with a harem around him, and then Brian arrived on the scene. So we're just.
So Brian was the little one when you entered.
That's right.
Okay.
Right.
So he got to know you through home visits.
Well, actually, yes. And also when Mom and Dad would come to Adrian to visit me, and I'll never ever forget, we were down in the novitiate garden, Mom and Dad and Brian. He came every time Mom and Dad would come. They'd bring 1 or 2 of my siblings because they couldn't bring everybody. But this time it was Brian, and of course he was the baby, and he was probably around maybe 3 years old.
Wow.
And so we're sitting in the novitiate garden, and of course I kept referring to my mom and dad as Mom and Dad every time I would ask them something or we'd be in conversation. And Brian, I can see him to this day. He was sitting in one of those chairs, just kind of staring at me, because then we had the habit on. And he finally looked at me with that tilted head and said, "Who is your mom and dad?" He couldn't make the connection that, we had the same mom and dad. So we've grown in relationship since then, but I'll never forget that.
That's cute. All right. Now you went to Adrian, and you entered in
1964.
64. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And so then I noticed that your teaching was basically in Michigan.
Correct. We were the first group that was kept in for the junior rate. So Sister Rosemary Ferguson was our.
I think she's with us in more ways than one.
In fact, she's
with
just,
our conversation. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. She sometimes our mail used to get mixed up.
Okay.
when I took Rosemary Finnegan, and then I'd get some Rosemary Ferguson mail, but so we would laugh about that. But she became our novice mistress. That was her first year. She was appointed our novice mistress, and that was wonderful. And then we were the first group to stay in for the junior 8.
Okay.
And we did so in that. And then in 1968, Sister Rosemary was elected our prioress. So we were just thrilled about that. But yes, she's definitely been a strong influence in my life. And, we were fortunate that we had her for so long, because, every time we would go back to visit in Adrian, our little groups, we would get to meet with her and just relive old times. And of course, she was always challenging us at the same time. So yes, she's a big influence in our lives.
So I noticed you went to St. Bridget's in Detroit.
Correct. Right.
That's where I grew up. I went there for 8 years. So I was surprised, right?
Oh, my goodness.
Was that the year it closed that you were there?
No, no, actually I went the year, the summer that they had all the riots in Detroit.
Oh, okay. 60s. Yeah, late 60s.
67. And, when I got my appointment, my mother said, because on the news, all you could see was Detroit, everything was burning.
Right. West Side. Mm-hmm.
My mother said to me, "They're sending you where?" And of course, I couldn't wait to get there because I wanted to be right in the middle of it all. And I taught first grade, and my wonderful teaching partner was Sister Linda Bevilacqua.
Oh, really? She was there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she and I she was my teaching partner, and we've been dear friends ever since.
Good.
And so those were difficult days, in the sense that there was a lot of transition going on, not only in our congregation, because those were, we were having the General Chapter of 68, but also in Detroit itself, the 60s and all the race riots.
Right.
And St. Bridget Parish itself, the 3 years I was there, we went from almost an all-white parish to almost an all-black parish.
Really? Okay.
So much movement in that at that time. And so it was difficult years, but they were challenging and learning years. And
I'm sure.
We were happy to be part of that transition. It was a wonderful, wonderful parish, and it was hard to see so many people leaving, but we welcomed the new people who came.
Right.
Well.
So then you went where before you went on to study?
Then those were the years when the young sisters were asked to finish up their degrees. Up until that point, we were going to through the summer, coming back to Siena and getting our degrees. So I actually had a semester back at Siena and finished up my undergrad degree. And I knew at that point there was a lot happening in the church. The Vatican II was really taking effect. The Sister, Rosemary Ferguson, when we were in the novitiate, our lessons each day, she would get those documents. They were rolling off the press, and those would be our lessons in our novitiate classes. And so a lot was going on in the church. And so when I went back to Siena in 70 to finish up my degree, I knew that I wanted to get into something other than teaching.
Okay.
And so it was Mary Treese McCarthy, God bless her. who grabbed my hand one day and said, "I've got just the opportunity for you." And we literally, Mary Tree, she
Yes.
just walked so quickly and spoke so quickly, and um, showed me a letter that she had just received from Maureen Fenlon, who was down in Tallahassee at the time, had just finished up her MSW, Master's in Social Work at Florida State, and was opening up a house of hospitality for families of inmates.
Okay.
And Mary Treese, in all her excitement and enthusiasm, said, "You'd be perfect for that. You'd be perfect for that." And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I've never been down south, working with prisoners. What is she talking about? And so I promised her I would call Maureen, and I did, and we chatted. And so Maureen was telling me that she had started this house of hospitality. She had been working with some ecumenical groups in the area. Tallahassee was a city where there was a federal prison, a county jail, a woman's halfway house. And so a lot of families were moving into town and not getting any services. And so she opened up what we called Terrell House. I said I would go and help her for 1 year. And I've been in Florida ever since. But I ended up being there for 6 years, went back to Florida State, got my master's in social work, and then moved on from Terrell House, which was a wonderful, it's still going, and still they're providing services, and then came to Orlando to a place called Beta House, and I worked here for 9 years at Beta House, working with young pregnant women
Oh,
and their
wonderful.
families.
Varied ministries you've had.
Yeah, they've been, all of them have been certainly spirit inspired and challenging, and I've been so grateful for the opportunities I've had.
And how did you work through some of those challenges? I mean, with the prisoners and then Beta House and.
Well, I think it was, just the people that I work with, at all of the ministries. You don't do it by yourself, and so it was just always people were there who we could make connections with, and we worked with, and they supported us, and they were energizing for us. And so it's basically the community that you surround yourself with that is that helps you through those times. And yet at the same time, some of them, because I ended up being a counselor at Beta House, and you after 9 years, that was hard to hear all those stories all the time, and I knew then it was time to move on. So I moved on then to St. Margaret Mary, where I am now. The new pastor at the time asked if I would consider coming on the staff to do adult education, and so I did, and that's been a wonderful, wonderful journey. I love my job, and
well, it's evident you've been there a long time.
Yes, and you know how time goes so quickly.
Right.
It's hard to imagine, but this position has, if I ever, the people I've met, the places I've gone, it's a large parish. We have 3,500 families.
Wow.
We're in downtown Winter Park. We have a big school. So it's always, this year has been very challenging for sure. But one of our ministries that has really touched my heart in a big way, and the Adrian Dominicans have been so supportive through the Ministry Trust grant, is our Haiti Ministry. And in 2006, one of our parishioners had been moved to the area and had been involved with Haiti in his former parish in Virginia, and invited us to consider being part of a Haiti ministry. And so Father Walsh and a small group initially went down to Haiti, and the rest is history. We've been involved with different parishes. The bottom line is that we stay in a parish in Haiti for 5 years. And during that time, we work with the people there, we collaborate with them to find out what their needs are, and then help them in ways that we can. It's been a wonderful experience for our parish here to be part of that, because we've made many trips down there with our parishioners. We don't go down to build or to dig wells or anything like that, because kind of our motto is the motto of Home Depot: you can do it, we can help. So, it's really empowering the people of Haiti.
Wonderful.
Yeah. In fact, we have a group down there now.
How long do they stay every time they go?
Only about 5 days. The group left on Monday, and they're coming back tomorrow, Friday. So.
And then they stay in that parish for 5 years. I mean, they return once a year.
We go almost monthly. We take a group.
Really? With a different group? With a different group?
Yes. We have 5 different working groups that we call them: the Education Committee, Economic Development, Medical, Faith Sharing, and then a youth program called the Peace Group. And so those are the 5 committees, and different folks in our parish are on those committees working with the same parallel committees down in Haiti. So, for instance, in economic development, we've been mostly in rural, mountainous areas. Haiti is beautiful. I mean, it is a beautiful country that has just been ravaged over the years by so many factors. But for instance, in economic development, one of the things that our Adrian Dominicans have supported us in are women's banks. We have started a number of women's banks there, and that enables them to develop their economic level, so they can actually support their families, educate their children. The farmers that we work with, we've done a lot of agricultural work. Seed planting, and that we have an animal program. One of the things we do here at the parish at Christmas time is we have an alternative giving.
Yeah.
And that has been most successful, so that we have animals that we sell. When we first started this, people actually thought we were taking the animals to Haiti. We said no. But they can buy cards and donate towards an animal, and then give that card to, as a gift to someone else. In education, we do not support, or we don't keep paying the salaries of the teachers, because that just, once you stop paying the salaries and we move on. So the whole idea is for them to be self-sufficient and to actually help themselves. So ironically, for the teachers, for instance, we said to them, what would help you to be self-sustaining? And they said, an animal, especially a cow. To have a cow in a rural community, is a real source of economic stability for them. So we give the teachers a cow, and then they are bred. They can have more cows, sell them at the market, et cetera, et cetera. So when we leave a parish, they have enough sustainability to continue on the programs that we've started.
Do you go back and not check on them, go back and on occasion and visit them?
Oh, definitely. I go at least once or twice a year myself. And our committee, because I'm one of the heads of the committee, but also we have wonderful folks that are we call them our men on the ground. We have 3 great guys that really, when we leave, they pick up the pieces and continue on the projects. So
okay.
We've been able, our pastor's been very interested in building some of what they call the chapels, the places where they gather and their worship sacred spaces are just shacks. They're just shacks.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's been instrumental. And we were just taking an inventory the other day. We've, in the years that we've been there, we've built 10 chapels. There's a main church, and then there are these extensions, churches in the very rural areas, and that's what they call chapels. So we've built 3 main churches, 10 chapels, a rectory, a school. Especially after the earthquake in 2010, everything was just ruined. So he's headed up that project. So, but we do a lot of the people projects as well. So
how did the pandemic affect that ministry?
Believe it or not, we were so worried that the pandemic would just wipe out so many people in Haiti. And they have hardly been touched by the pandemic, believe it or not.
Wow.
And even we've read articles from some medical people that because they have no health system, they have no water. I mean, forget about washing their hands. And, we initially sent down masks to help them. But actually, we don't know from reading these articles too, if it's because of the herd immunity. These poor folks have been exposed to everything, every kind of disease and illness. So whether they have been able to withstand it just in their own selves, it has been amazing. But the death rate has been extremely low. We were really, really concerned, as I said. A
good lesson for us as we look back on all that we have and are blessed with, and unbelievable.
Oh, it's really been a wonderful part of my life to be part of the Haiti ministry.
So you're very involved in a large parish, and then you got the Haiti issue. I don't think you'll ever get tired of, get bored with what's going on. What do you do to take time for yourself, or what do you do for fun?
Well, I love to walk, and I have a wonderful dog at home that his name is Duffy. And
that's right. I think I've heard about Duffy. Yeah.
Everybody knows Duffy.
Duffy, yeah.
So Duffy's been such a blessing to me, and but I like to walk. I live in a beautiful area. I mean, Florida, and just being able to be out in the fresh air has been such a blessing, especially this year. My poor family and everybody, and Adrian, oh my gosh, I can't tell you how our hearts have gone out to everyone who has been so confined because of, and has to be, there's no question, but still it's so hard. And I have truly felt in solidarity with our wonderful sisters there, and hopefully things will begin to get better. But I do like to walk. I do like to do some crafts. I like to read. So all of that has been life-giving for me.
Well, when do you get time to dance? He's asking, Rosemary.
I love to dance.
Yeah.
I would mention to you before we got started here that I just really like to dance. And
Good.
Carol Costin, if she's listening to this, will enjoy it, because she and I are always partners when we're at any kind of function there.
As we wind up our time together, Rosemary Finnegan, do you have some words of wisdom for us?
Oh my goodness.
To your life experience thus far? It's not all been wonderful, I'm sure.
It's been challenging. Each as everybody knows, anything you do is challenging. I think what I've learned in a funny kind of way is, sleep on it. When you're worried about something, just sleep on it. Some ways, sometimes it always looks a little better in the morning. And the other thing I've learned through prayer, when I'm concerned about something, is, especially this year, I've had a cancer challenge. As you know, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I'm doing okay, but that's still ongoing, and I'm so grateful for all the prayers and support of the community. But I in prayer, I thank God for how things are going to be resolved, and if I'm concerned about something, I'll just start thanking God ahead of time for how it's going to be resolved. And somehow it always gets resolved, and it's just another way of not worrying about it so much. I can be a worrier. So I'm just... It's
evident that your spiritual life, your spirituality has been nourished through your early life, your home, your family, your parents.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It began there. Yeah.
Mom and Dad were, are, and still are. My mom does our live stream mass every Sunday morning. We live stream our mass here at St. Margaret Mary. So she's been here, of course, many times to visit. So, but their faith life certainly has been very, very important to me. And I will always be grateful for that, always, for their love and influence.
Now, I know I sent you a whole long line of questions to consider. Is there anything I didn't ask that you're saying, oh, she didn't ask me, I wish she would have asked me such and such? Do you have some parting words for us?
Just thank you for all the support that I've always received from the congregation, and the opportunities and the challenges, the people I've met, the places I've gone. I love to travel, but I love to be a homebody too. But I'm just grateful, just very grateful.
Good. Well, thank you, Rosemary Finnegan, for you quickly responded, and that's not always been happened when I've invited our sisters to tell their story. So I was duly happy to get your quick response and to be able to tell your story and share your wonderful ministries and the preaching, all your various ways that you are preaching and touching the lives of so many.
Oh, thank you.
And I don't want to end our conversation without thanking your dear mother. So Mom Finnegan, thank you so much for your daughter, Kathleen, our Rosemary, for the life that you nourished in her for so long and continue to nourish. So thank you, Mrs. Finnegan, and all the Finnegans. From Flynn to the Finnegans. Yes, very good.
The clan. We just say
the clan. The clan. That's wonderful. All right. Well, thanks, Rosemary.
You're welcome.
And
God bless.
I'll be in touch with you at a later date.
Thank you. God bless.
Okay.
Bye.
God bless.